President Bola Tinubu today declares open 9th edition of National Youth Games in Asaba. President Bola Tinubu approves 108 billion naira to combat natural disaster for some sub-national across the country. Vice President Kashim Shettima says federal government will integrate technology into education sector to enhance learning in the country. And abroad, millions of Southeast Asia battle floods as death toll increase. Good evening and welcome to the Delta Television News at 8. I am Ogaga Ekama. President Bola Tinubu has approved 108 billion naira for the states to combat natural disasters, adding that each state is entitled to 3 billion naira. This is coming on the heels of massive flooding ravaging states in the north. The Nigeria Meteorological Agency (NIMET) has also predicted more rainfall and likelihood of more flooding as the year rolls to an end. Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum, whose capital city is reeling under the flooding that followed the collapse of Alau Dam water channels, confirmed yesterday he had received 3 billion naira from the federal government to battle the humanitarian crisis. He noted that no fewer than 1 million people had been displaced by the gory situation. President Bola Tinubu has declared open the 8th edition of the National Youth Games in Asaba with a call on stakeholders in the sports sector to concentrate on grassroots sports development. Ejime Udweme reports.
By the Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Eno, said the nation must continue to look at the National Youth Games as a nurturing ground for excellence in sports development. He said sports play crucial roles in wealth creation, peace building, and national unity among different tribes in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. President Tinubu said his administration was investing heavily in sports through its renewed hope agenda, stressing that there was urgent need to invest in grassroots sports. He thanked the Delta State government and the people of Delta for their sustained support for the youth games.
My hope is that the different sporting federations representing the sporting federations of our country are here on ground to watch the games related to their different sports and to be able to discover firsthand the talents that need to be nurtured for the future of our sports.
Speaking at the opening ceremony, Governor Sheriff Oboriwori said it was a thing of pride for the state to host the event in 2 years, affirming that Delta, being the home of sports, would maintain its dominance in the 8th edition. Honorable Oboriwori said the state has invested a lot of resources in the provision of first-class sporting facilities for the games and charged athletes to maximize it throughout the period of the games. He said past editions of the game has helped to discover young talents and express optimism that old records will be broken. Governor Oboriwori, who identified sports as a vehicle to advance national unity and cohesion, thanked the Federal Ministry of Sports and local organizing committee for its doggedness in discovery of talents throughout the games.
To all our athletes, I congratulate you on making it here. I urge you to compete fairly and fiercely. You may not always win, but you will be remembered for putting in your best. In sports art, I encourage you to leave it all on the field. Remember that your family, friends, schoolmates, and even your respective states governments are rooting for you.
The chairman, Local Organizing Committee, Chief Solomon Ogba, thanked Governor Oboriwori for his support towards the successful kickoff and provision of facilities for the games. He gave assurance that the event will be the best following the preparation before and throughout the exercise.
We can assure that all the best cases needed for athletes and officials are in excellent condition. Also, adequate transportation systems that will make your state memorable are already in place.
The event featured march pasts by contingents from the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Governor Oborewuri and other top government functionaries joined the Delta State contingents in the march past. There was also hoisting of flags to mark the kickoff of the games. Ejime Uduime reporting.
Vice President Kashim Shettima has said the federal government will integrate technology into the education infrastructure to enhance learning outcomes in the country. Senator Shettima stated this during a meeting with the World Bank Nigeria team at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The Vice President, who said that the move would address human capacity and resource challenges to improve learning outcomes, assured that President Bola Tinubu was committed to driving change in the country. He said that with the evolving global technological landscape, President Tinubu would harness all the available opportunities to add value to the country. Senator Shettima referenced India's success in using Kian Smart Class solutions to teach students in rural areas, suggesting that similar innovations could revolutionize Nigeria's education system. He advocated a holistic approach to education reform, including improving infrastructure, teacher training, and implementation of technology. Earlier, Dr. Ndiame Diop, World Bank's country director for Nigeria, outlined the bank's focus on improving governance, health, and education across the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. The federal government has moved to increase its revenue by converting over $300 billion worth of unregistered lands into viable assets. The effort, in collaboration with the World Bank Group, is aimed at addressing the 90% undocumented debt capital tied up in land assets. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Mr. Ahmed Dangiwa, by delegation of the World Bank led by its Vice President Infrastructure, Mr. Gwanze Chen in Abuja, said over 90% of land in Nigeria remains unregistered and untitled, estimated at over $300 billion. The ministry aims to register, document, and title all land parcels within 5 years, develop a national digital land information system, and increase formalization of land transactions from less than 10% to over 50% in the next decade. It stated that the collaboration will also focus on urban livability, development of a framework to address systemic barriers in the housing value chain, and enhance of private, affordable housing investments. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, yesterday assured stakeholders in Edo of the Commission's readiness for the September 21 governorship election. Professor Yakubu told the stakeholders in Benin to cooperate with the Commission to ensure credible election. He noted that the meeting was a tradition convened on the eve of a major off-cycle governorship election and jointly addressed by the INEC chairman and the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetukun. He explained that the purpose was to interact with political parties and candidates, accredited observers, the media, and other stakeholders on the preparations for the election. The chairman said on the part of INEC, active preparations for the election started last year with the release of the timetable and schedule of activities for the election as required by law. He disclosed that 13 statutory activities were listed, beginning with the publication of the notice of election and ending with the election day, adding that 11 out of the 13 activities had been concluded. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has extended the collection of permanent voter cards, PVCs, to September 15 in Edo in preparation for the state's governorship election on September 21. INEC National Commissioner Mr. Sam Olenmeku announced this in Benin, noting that the extension would begin on September 13. Mr. Alumeku said that stakeholders unanimously appealed to the Commission to consider an extension of period for the collection of PVCs to enable more voters to collect their cards. The chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, and the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetukun, addressed the stakeholders and responded to their electoral and security concerns. He urged all registered voters who were yet to collect their PVCs to seize the opportunity of the extension to do so, adding that there would be no collection by proxy in line with the Commission's policy. The meeting was attended by chairmen of political parties, candidates, traditional and religious leaders, security agencies, civil society organizations, and the media. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wole Edun, has restated President Bola Tinubu's commitment to boost the economy and tackle challenges posed by natural disasters. Mr. Edu spoke at Wakot Rice Limited's 250,000 metric tons processing facility in Agungu, Kebbi State during a visit. Mr. Edu, accompanied by Governor Nasir Idris and Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, inspected the production processes in readiness for the wet season harvest expectations. He lauded Wakot Rice for its contributions to the economy, adding that the facility supports farmers through a procurement network and an 8,000-strong outgrower program. The House of Representatives has shifted its resumption date by 1 week. Members of the lower parliament were scheduled to return from their annual vacation on Tuesday, September 17, but their resumption of plenary has now been moved to Tuesday, September 24 at 11 a.m. A statement by the spokesman of the House, Mr. Akintunde Rotimi, said the decision to reschedule the resumption was communicated to members through an internal memo by the clerk of the House, Mr. Yahaya Danzaria, based on the directive of the House leadership. Mr. Rotimi further revealed that when the House reconvenes, it will inaugurate the new board of the Public Complaints Commission (PCC) and the Joint Senate House ad hoc committees on the petroleum industry investigation on September 25. The reason for the shift in the date of resumption is unknown as at the time of filing this report. The Speaker of the Nasarawa State House of Assembly, Honorable Danladi Jatau, locked out several staff members of the Assembly for arriving late to work. The action aimed at addressing the staff's lack of punctuality was taken after the Speaker expressed dissatisfaction with their attitude toward work. Honorable Jatau, who arrived at the office as early as 8:30 a.m., conducted an inspection of the offices to assess staff attendance and punctuality. He expressed his displeasure with the number of employees who had not resumed work within the official hours. Speaking to newsmen after the inspection, the Speaker stated that his administration would not tolerate indiscipline or any actions that could hinder the smooth operation of the legislative institution. He added that the Nasarawa State Governor, Abdullahi Sule, had been making efforts to improve the welfare of state workers, and the Assembly under his leadership would continue to prioritize staff welfare but would not overlook issues of indiscipline. The Speaker reassured staff of his commitment to their welfare but reiterated the need for them to fulfill their responsibilities effectively. The State Head of Service, Mr. Reginald Bayoko, has identified alumni associations as critical to strengthening governance at the local level. Mr. Bayoko highlighted this in Asaba in his remarks at a special meeting and lecture of the University of Benin Alumni Association Asaba branch. The lecture, which had as its title, Local Government Financial Autonomy, the Landscape After the Supreme Court Judgment, was held at the Secretariat of the Alumni Association on Miriam Babangida Way, Asaba.
The lecture by the State Solicitor General and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Justice, Mr. Omanzo Irebe, dealt on the circumstances leading to the legislation of financial autonomy for local governments and the implications. It was delivered on his behalf by the Deputy Director of Justice and Head of Chambers in the Solicitor General's Office, Barrister Jonah Otite. In his remarks, the State Head of Service, Mr. Reginald Bayoko, who was a special guest at the event, among other eminent alumni of the University of Benin, said alumni associations abounded with human resources in all spheres of life, and their input was key to the development of the grassroots. He noted that financial autonomy for local governments was intended to promote accountability and pave way for greater participation by the people and, by extension, deeper democratization.
Recent ruling of the Supreme Court, right, affirming the authority of local government, for all of us who have heard it, is a landmark decision. But it comes with profound implications for governance, democracy, and development, especially at the grassroots. We're going to encourage all of us to contribute to the growth of this structure.
The State Accountant General and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Mrs. Joy Enwa, in her contributions, underscored financial transparency in the relationship between the state and local governments in Delta State, well before the autonomy.
For this judgment, we have always returned to the local government all that we get from federal as per their allocation. So once we come back from the federation accounts, we usually go to what we call the JAC meeting, and whatever is assigned to each local government is returned back to the local government for them to disburse at the local government level.
Other speakers advocated a more democratic system of government where the opposition would be a major driver of good governance. They called on graduates of UNIBEN to continue to use the knowledge gained in school to give the best in whatever capacity they served, in line with the motto of their alma mater, knowledge for service. The occasion, presided over by the chairman of the UNIBEN Alumni Association Asaba branch, Magdalene Chiemeke, drew the permanent secretaries in the Ministry of Environment, Dr. Mini Oseji, the PS Water Resources, Dr. Charles Diai, the PS Special Duties, Prince Greg Ejewomu, and his counterpart in the Office of the Head of Service, Mr. Patrick Ojeblenu. Others were the PS Government House and Protocol, Mr. Anino Teshola, the PS Civil Service Commission, Mr. Fred Yoro, who was also host of the meeting, and the chairman of the Local Government Service Commission, Deacon Joseph Otirwe. The meeting lecture recorded a cross-section of members in the private sector and the civil service, including the Director of News, Delta Broadcasting Service, Asaba, Mrs. Mercy Mwemifo.
The Sokoto State Executive Council has approved 119 billion naira for submission to the State House of Assembly as supplementary budget. The council also approved 17.9 billion naira for the reconstruction of different roads in the state. Addressing journalists shortly after the meeting, the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Mr. Balarabe Kadadi, said the budget contained inflows from NG Cares, LPRES, Agile, Palliative Fund for local government areas, ecological and excess crude oil. Mr. Kadadi explained that the proposal would be presented to the State House of Assembly for approval. You're still watching the Delta Television News at 8. Still to come, millions of Southeast Asia battle flood as death toll increase. Details of this and more coming up shortly. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on the news. The global scene is next as we join our world news desk.
Millions of people across South Asia struggle today with flooded homes, power cuts, and wrecked infrastructure after Typhoon Yagi swept through the region as the death toll passed 200. It was hit Vietnam. The fatality rose to 197, with 9 confirmed deaths in northern Thailand, where one district is suffering its worst floods in 80 years. Myanmar's National Fire Service confirmed the country's first Yagi-related deaths after 70 bodies were recovered from flooded villages in the Mandalay region, while more than 50,000 people have been forced from their homes. Yagi brought a colossal deluge of rain that has inundated a swath of northern Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar, triggering deadly landslides and widespread river flooding. Boeing's West Coast factory workers started voting today on a much criticized new contract and a possible strike, piling pressure on the plane maker as it wrestled with chronic production delays and mounting debts. A potential strike will start tomorrow, which will be a big early blow to new CEO Kelly Ortberg, brought on last month to restore faith in the plane maker after a Dub plane blew off a near-new 737 MAX jet in mid-air in January. Roughly 30,000 workers who produce Boeing's 737 MAX, 767 and 77 jets in the Seattle and Portland areas voted on their first full contract in 16 years.
Let's join our business news desk for happenings in the business sector.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has announced new regulations for processing point-of-sale POS transactions across the country, directing all acquirers to route their transactions through any licensed payment terminal service aggregators, PTSA, a move aimed at increasing transparency and monitoring of electronic transactions. In a circular address to all payment service providers, PSPs, the CBN issued new rules mandating that all transactions from POS terminals, whether physical or electronic, be routed through a licensed payment terminal service aggregators, PTSA. This development is intended to ensure effective tracking and regulation of electronic payments in Nigeria. To achieve its objective of monitoring electronic transactions, the CBN initially granted a PTSA license to the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System (PLC) in August 2011. However, recognizing the need to diversify and mitigate the risk of relying on a single aggregator, the CBN has now issued a second PTSA license to Unified Payment Service Limited, UPSL, as of April 19, 2024. As part of the new directive, the CBN has laid out several specific guidelines. Acquirers are required to route their transactions from POS terminal at merchant and agent locations, whether using physical or electronic terminals, through any CBN licensed PTSA. Payment terminal service aggregators must send POS transactions only to processors certified by the relevant payment scheme nominated by the acquirer and licensed by the CBN. All licensed processors must be integrated with both PTSAs, allowing acquirers the flexibility to choose which processor and PTSA to use. The ongoing fuel crisis in Nigeria, which has caused severe disruptions since July 2024, is the latest manifestation of a long-standing structural problem in the country's energy sector, with millions of man-hours lost to endless queues at petrol stations. The inefficiencies of the current system have become glaringly obvious. For nearly 3 decades, Nigerian fuel supply has been dependent on the importation of petroleum products, sustained by a government-subsidized pricing system, as oil production has fallen from over 2 million barrels per day to just over 1 million. The cost of maintaining these subsidies has become unsustainable. President Bola Tinubu's decision on May 29, 2024 to remove fuel subsidies was a step in the right direction, but the simultaneous flotations of the Naira introduced new complication. Between May 2023 and September 2024, the currency lost about 245% of its value, while crude oil prices remained stable. The cost of importing fuel skyrocketed, effectively reintroducing the very subsidy the government sought to eliminate. This has left the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) in the difficult position of continuing to absorb costs while publicly denying the return of subsidies. This is both a failure of communication and a reflection of the broader economic challenges facing the country. Ivory Coast has emerged as Nigeria's biggest trade partner in Africa after importing crude oil worth 2.05 trillion naira in the first half of the year. This is according to the Foreign Trade Report for Q2 2024 published by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. According to the report, Nigeria's crude oil exports in the first 3 months of 2024 stood at 717.49 billion naira. This figure nearly doubled to 1.34 trillion naira in the second quarter of the year.
Next is the thought for the day. Don't let yesterday take up too much of today. Live life to the fullest and focus on the positive. To end the news, here again are the main points. President Bola Tinubu has declared open the 8th edition of the National Youth Games in Asaba, with a call on stakeholders in the sports sector to concentrate on grassroots sports development. President Bola Tinubu has approved 108 billion naira for the states to combat natural disasters, adding that each state is entitled to 3 billion naira. This is coming on the heels of massive flooding ravaging states in the north. Vice President Kashim Shettima has said the federal government will integrate technology into the education infrastructure to enhance learning outcomes in the country. Senator Shettima stated this during a meeting with the World Bank Nigeria team at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Abroad, millions of Southeast Asia battle floods as death toll increase. That's the news. Thank you so much for watching. I am Ogaga Ikama. Good evening.
Efe, you see, maintaining peace and security in Delta State remains a priority for the Governor Sheriff Oborevwori-led administration.
It's clear for everyone to see that the Governor Sheriff-led administration is focused on promoting the well-being of all Deltans. Did you know that the Delta State Contributory Health Insurance Scheme currently caters to over 1,995,816 enrollees?
My God, no wonder Dr. Ifeanyi Oswaza is said that Governor Sheriff is staying committed to delivering the more agenda to Deltans.
Yes, you can say that again. Are you aware that Governor Sheriff Oborevwori's administration has also taken significant steps to ease land acquisition as a strategy to mitigate Nigerians' housing deficits?
Governor Sheriff, very impressive. He's not just focusing on one area, maybe just health or peace and security. Is making sure that all areas experience the more agenda. Even when the Osun State Governor, Senator Ademola Adeleke, inaugurated the completed Okpanami-Buso bypass, he said he was particularly impressed with the performances of Governor Oborevwori in 1 year of his administration.
Of course, it is clear now that the Governor Sheriff infrastructural development is creating an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. Ahead of a lady by the name Doris Uzo, who relocated her business to the bypass area, and she's doing very well.
Talking about the bypass, Governor Sheriff did a very good one there. The 5.3 kilometer road
and 10.6 kilometer length of drains.
Yes. Coming from Warri now, I didn't need to drive through those distance Coca area. I just took this shortcut, you know.
Hey, you don't want to burn your fuel now. I know you. You get money, but you don't want to spend them.
Governor Sheriff don't do road. Make I still waste fuel. Don't be your fault. Now Sheriff will do road for you. You don't see how now.
Governor Sheriff putting smiles on the faces of Deltans.
So we are very happy because our government is working so hard.
You Sheriff in town. You do very, very well in Delta State.
Brought to you by Delta State Ministry of Information.
Let's go! No. Let's go. If we continue like this now, where will we go end? Bros, calm down. I know say it be like say all of us the verse now. But more will not say
Any damage where we dey cause now, not to our own state. And when we talk about our own state, we dey talk about ourselves, about our family, our fathers and mothers, our wives, brothers and sisters, even our children. If we use our own hands scatter what we get as our own, now where we go call our own again?
Na truth he talk. After all, Governor Sheriff, he don't promise say go do more for Deltans. Now wetin make us come dey fight now?
Wetin our guy dey talk so, e make sense.
You see now. No be lie. We need peace today so that we go fit experience the more agenda. Meaningful development for all. But where there is no peace, there cannot be prosperity now. We dey fight, they prosper. No need for the fight. Now peace and unity. Now we want.
It takes peace to experience more. Together in peace and unity, we will experience the more agenda. Brought to you by Delta State Ministry of Information.
Governor Sheriff, they give us more better things for Delta.
That's why you're so na truth.
Na truth, oh. This Ugeli why they stay so. Yes. Governor Sheriff, they do roads.
That's why, yeah.
He not only they do roads, so they also they do drainages to make sure say the roads where we go they get for Delta, no go spoil. Me and you know say Governor Sheriff, they ready to give Deltas the best.
Yes. He talk now before he enter power.
As me and you they talk so, Adagbrasa road. Adagbrasa now where you take they go they meet that girl.
Which one?
That girl will say she not go fit marry you.
Okay.
Governor Sheriff don't rehabilitate Adagbrasa road. Yes, so. It's just about 1 year where Governor Sheriff enter power, so him don't start and complete different projects. Some of them he rehabilitate them.
More agenda, of course.
Yes, so.
You see, this thing when Oga Peter they talk so. Now truth, just about 1 year in office, Governor Sheriff don't complete different projects, and he still they do more. As I dey road they travel the other day, I see and say Governor Sheriff they do rehabilitation for High Expressway, a 3-kilometer road.
Now, not be only that one. Recent